Today's title is Multiplying Fractions, so pause the video to take time to write that down as your title at the top of your page and in your table of contents. And after that, why don't you take a look at your TEKS page to see what TEKS it is we're working with today. Today's TEK is 5.3i and 6.3b. And we're going to talk a little bit at the end of this what that 6.3b means. So you don't necessarily have to write anything down in this frame. I just want you to kind of take in what it is that we're looking at. Finding a fraction of a number is the same thing as multiplying a fraction and a whole number. So we kind of discussed, or I tried to point out to you, when you see a fraction with the word of after it, it normally means multiply. Find 3/4 of the number 12. And that's actually 3/4 times 12. And that's what these red words up here are saying to us. So let's draw a picture to see what it looks like, and then let's work out the problem to give you an idea of how you're going to do it mathematically. So here I have 12 rectangles, so I have 12 holes, and I'm going to shade in 3/4 of them. Well, I can see that they're divided into 4 groups. Here's 1 group, 2 groups, 3 groups, 4 groups, and so I want to shade in 3/4 of them. So that means I'm going to shade in all of these. I'm just going to do it quickly because I can't do anything perfect with this computer mouse. Okay. So 3/4 of 12 is going to be my shaded portion right here. And I can see that I have, if these were 12 holes to begin with, they're still holes in the end. And I have 3, 6, 9 of them. So my answer to this question is 9. Now we're going to come over here and we're actually going to do the math portion of it. When you multiply fractions, you're going to actually think that it's one of the simplest things to do with fractions. First, we need them to both look like fractions. So if this is 12 holes, I'm going to write this as 12 holes, 12 over 1. All right, and then if I rewrite my problem, I have 3/4 times 12 over 1. And I'm simply just going to multiply straight across. 3 times 12 is 36, and 4 times 1 is 4. This is my answer, but it's an improper fraction. So go back to what you learned about improper fractions and mixed numbers. What does this line mean right here? That we can, what operation can we do when we see that fraction line? Divide, right. And 36 divided by 4 equals 9. And so my answer is 9. There's another way that you could look at it. If I erase this 1 here, I know there is a 1 underneath that 12. I can see right there. I've written it so that I can see it visually there. But down here, I can see that I've got 3 times 12 as my numerators and then 4 as my denominator. I can multiply. 3 times 12 is 36. And then remember, this line right here means division. So 3 times 12 is 36. 36 divided by 4 is 9. Okay, now get your pencil out and let's work one problem at a time. 1/8 of 64. And remember what I told you this word of meant? Multiply. So let's write this as a multiplication problem. 1/8 times 64. Now I want them to both look like fractions. So 64 wholes I write as over 1. Now I can multiply. 1 times 64 is 64. And 8 times 1 is 8. I have an improper fraction, so I can divide. 64 divided by 8 is 8 wholes. Okay, take some time to write this next one down. 5/8 of 64. And let's write it as a multiplication problem. 5/8 times 64. Write that as a fraction over 1. And then I'm simply going to multiply straight across. Well, 5 times 64 is going to take me some time to computate. So I'm going to write that as a multiplication problem down here. 5 times 4 is 20. Carry my 2. 5 times 6 is 30, plus 2 more is 32. So my answer is 320. And 8 times 1 is 8. and then I can divide. I know that 32 divided by 8 is 4 with the 0, 40. Let's do a couple more. 3/5 of 100, and we're going to multiply. Now, for some of you who really understand fractions and how numbers work, you can already see that in the end, we're going to be dividing by 5. 3/5 divided by 5 times, 3/5 times 100. And I know in the end, I'm going to be dividing by 5. So for some of you, you can go ahead and think 100 divided by 5 is 20. And then 20 times 3 is 60. Some of you can go ahead and see that happening there. If you can't see that happening, that's fine. That just means you're going to take a couple of steps to computate. That's fine. Write 100 over 1. 3 times 100 is 300. Divided by 5. I know that 30 divided by 5 is 6 with the extra 0, 60. Same thing. 60, 60. Okay, try this one on your own. Pause the video and try this one on your own. And your answer is 261. You can see my computation here if you didn't get the same answer as I did. All right, let's do a couple of multiplication problems here. We're trying to find the whole number that this is multiplied by. So 2/3 equals something times 1/3. That means 3 times something would get me 3, so I know that's a 1. 3 times 1 is 3. 1 times something is 2. What would that be? 2. So my answer is 2 wholes. Let's try this one. 5 times 1 is 5. This would be written as 5 over 1. So what times 1 would give me 6? 6. So my answer is 1/6. Okay, try these two on your own. Okay, 2 more. I did these two, and let's just take a look at how I did them, and I'll do it down here. Something times something to give me 9. Well, I know this is going to be a whole number, so I know that's a 1. So 9 times 1 will give me 9. And then something times 2 will give me, all right, so this is a 1, and this is a 2. Okay, try this one on your own. All right, let's try a word problem together. Nadine bought 6/7 of a pound of pecans. The pecans cost $14 per pound. How much did Nadine spend? Here's that fraction of, you can see right there, fraction of a pound. Remember what I told you that fraction of meant? Means a fraction times. So we need 6/7 times what? Well, 6/7 times a pound. How much did Nadine spend? Well, how much is a pound? $14. So we're going to be multiplying 6/7 times 14. Pause the video as you solve for your answer. $12. Okay. Ronnie has 240 coins in her collection. 11/20 of the coins are pennies. 4/20 of the coins are nickels. The rest of the coins are quarters. How many of the coins are quarters? I'm going to explain how to work this problem, but if you would like to pause it to try it on your own, you may do so. She has 240 coins in her collection, 11/20, and I'm just going to write all this information out so that I can see it. 11/20 are pennies. I'm just going to put a P out there for pennies. 4/20 are nickels, and the rest of the coins are quarters. So I don't know how many coins are quarters. How many of the coins are quarters? So let's take a look. I know that 20/20 is a whole. So this plus this should all equal 20/20ths, which is a whole, because that would be all of my coins. So what I'm going to have to do to figure out how much of the portion of the quarters or the coins are quarters, I'm going to have to add these two together, which I get 15/20ths. So together this is 15/20ths. So if the pennies and nickels are 15/20ths and my whole is 20/20ths, what would the quarters have to be? Right, 5/20ths. So 5/20ths of the coins are quarters. So 5/20ths of the coins are quarters. Oh, look, I have those words, fraction of, so that means I'm going to multiply. So 5/20ths times the coins. And then I have to go back up into my problem to figure out how many coins I have. And I see that I have 240. Now I have an equation. Now I can solve. Pause the video while you solve it. After I've solved, I see that 5/20ths of the coins is 60 coins, 60 quarters. So there's 60 quarters. Okay, we're going to take a look at one last thing. We're going to take a look at that TEKS, the 6.3b. It says I can determine with and without computation, so with working it and without working it, whether a quantity is increased or decreased when multiplied by a fraction. So the TEK is saying I can tell if this is going to be increased or decreased when I multiply it by a fraction. I want you to pause the video and take a moment just to think about it. If you need to computate, you can. So when I computate, I see that I get 36/4, which is equal to 9. So did my 12 increase or decrease? It decreased because I want 3/4. Remember that multiplication symbol means of. I want 3/4 of 12. So that means a portion of that. I don't want the whole 12. I want a portion of it. And so I can see that it's decreased. All right. You are going to go on to your assignment. I suggest you take time to look at your word problems and work them carefully. And there is a back side to the page, so make sure you do the front and the back.